Salut! Bine ați venit! A început anul foarte bine, este primul meetup Startup Grind din anul acesta și ați venit într-un număr foarte, foarte mare în comparație cu ceea ce a fost. Semne bune. O să schimb acum în engleză. Sper că nu o să aveți dificultăți. Dacă ceva se întâmplă, puteți să întrebați să mă opriți. So hi, welcome. This is our first meetup for this year. We have today an entrepreneur, founder of Idea Studios, Transylgamia and Jellycs, monetization expert and frenchie lover. An entrepreneur for the past 9 years. He's behind of the three most interesting names in the local gaming industry. Idea Studios, which I mentioned, one of the largest independent gaming studios in Romania, mobile game development and publisher company Transylgamia, and gaming marketing company Jellycs. Together with his business partners, he has turned his passion for game production and development into a success model and is now part of a team that creates games for millions of people all around the world. He says that his secret is curiosity, so basically we're going to find out how he has done it with his curiosity. Well, please welcome Tămaș. So please give him a round of applause. Hi Daniel, and thank you for accepting my invitation. I'm going to kick off with a quite interesting question because something from your description triggered me, and that is why a Frenchie and not a Labrador?
Well, before this is the first dog I ever had, and it was a totally new experience, and my wife and I fell in love instantly with Arnie, our dog, because of the energy it displays and it shows. It's like I don't know, on batteries all day. So
Okay.
3 cups of coffee at 7 a.m. or at 11 p.m.
So
he's still rolling.
He's a high energy.
Yeah. So that's why, yeah.
Okay, cool. We're gonna go back a little bit. So I'm gonna ask you to tell us about yourself. As you were a kid, what were your passions? What did you study? And how all this influenced you in the present position, that being a businessman. Since we are at a business talk, so.
Well, okay. So we've got only 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, but I'm gonna continue with questions.
I'm gonna get to the third grade or something, but it's good.
Yeah.
I was born in '86 in Cluj, and I grew up like a normal kid that grows up in the 90s in Romania. My parents were regular people. My father, after '89, he started a business. So that's one of the ways I got to learn about owning your own company.
Okay.
And I remember the first time I had contact with a computer. It was around 1993. I was at my cousin's house, and there it was. It was like the holy grail, and I instantly fell in love with that.
What was it, 286 or 486?
I have no idea. If I would see it today, it would be probably a coffee machine or something.
Yeah.
But it was truly amazing, and actually, now that I recall, the first couple of years was only playing games. And the first game I played was Hercules.
Yeah.
It was a very, very interesting game for that age. And that's how it all started. Then an internet cafe, one of the first in our neighborhood, opened up very, very close to where I lived. That was a very big mistake. Because I started pushing my parents to let me go there, and when they didn't, I started stealing money and going there.
Okay, that was my question. How much money did you spend on it?
Well, looking backwards, I consider it a very useful investment.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was a dangerous endeavor. And that was one of the first times I started learning about how computers work. What's the internet? Also playing LAN games with my friends, literally all day, and the passion stayed. We went through middle school, then high school, and in high school things really kicked off. We were playing an online multiplayer game. My best friend in high school and he said, "Okay, I'm playing this. Would you like to play it?" We started playing, and there were a lot of Romanians playing that game, so we ended up gathering and discussing on a forum.
Okay.
And on that forum, people started saying, "Okay, I'm earning $300, $400, $500 a month, and I'm 17."
Just by playing?
No.
Okay.
These were extra skills that we got to learn about while discussing on forums on different topics. And that's when the light bulb came up.
Recap.
Said, "Okay, how do you do this?" And they started saying, "Okay, Flash, HTML, CSS, JavaScript," and it was all like
avalanche of
developer porn, basically. That was it was so exciting, and given I'm a very curious person by nature, most of the times I really piss people off with that. But at that, questions, and I'm poking around. But at that time, the curiosity was the main drive to learn, and I started learning. I was at a high school in Cluj, which was not related to math or programming or something, but I started learning how can you create and do all the things the guys were talking on the forum. So I would not look bad. I wanted to pitch in with something, not just innocent bystander. And that's how I started learning about programming and Photoshop and web design and all that stuff. And I said, okay, if I'm learning, I'm learning for a purpose. I'm very curious also how it is to make money. So not only the learning process of a particular skill, but also how do you make money out of that?
So basically you went from playing games, reading and writing on the forums, and going into web development.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, that's the path. And I started doing freelance jobs on it was rentacoder.com.
Okay.
It was tough. We were several friends doing this, and we had a lot of competition from all over the world. And we had to learn all the skills required to get a job in your portfolio. And by learning, doing mistakes, not getting paid or being underpaid, but that was not the main focus. The main focus was going one step further.
Yeah.
This job was complexity 1, the next one should be 2, money times 2, and so on. And when high school ended, I took some really, really poor advice, and I went to law school for 2 years. It was not the right path to take, but it in the same time, I can say it helped during the business we grew and built, but it was also a main distraction.
Yeah.
That was when I also actually not very far from here, 3 numbers up.
Yeah.
It was my first and only place I ever worked, and I learned a huge amount of stuff there, including programming wise.
So basically, you already had this passion of web development, or the techie part, but you still went into the law school.
Yeah.
What was the trigger of going into law school? Was it somebody like from the exterior that said that hey, this is the right path to cut the crap?
I'm right now, after let's say 15 years of doing things and testing and messing around, I can truly say that everybody knows what he or she wants to do inside. You know it. When you look in the mirror, something tells you this is the right thing to do. but still, when you're young and younger, you tend to get influenced, and it was sort of the case, but it didn't hold up that long, because I was going to law school, and my mind and my extra time was invested in web development and programming and doing stuff.
Okay. Was it like your parents' hand or something? Like usually we all get to
not quite.
end on this path. That
I was not necessarily the type of kid that takes advice from parents.
okay.
I was the other way around.
Outlaws.
Well, it wasn't with a specific purpose, but I just wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I do believe that there's this famous quote, I don't know who is it from, find what you love to do and let it consume you. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because it's a feeling you cannot replicate any other way, and of course the discovery process slows down once you get to know more and more details about what you do, but still it's fun, and you get to master a lot of things you had no idea you can 3 years ago.
Yeah. So basically you end up in law school, but you're still doing freelancing. What changed?
Well, I was doing freelancing, and at a point, a friend called me and said, "Are you interested in working for a company in Cluj doing web design? Okay, let's see what this is about." I went there, and they said, "Okay, let's do a small test." It was in Flash, and I had to do an animation with a raindrop that was dropping on a grape fruit.
Yeah.
Grape. You know what I'm...
Ciorchine.
Exactly. And they were impressed by that, and they said, "Okay, if you want to work with us, you can work with us." And this endeavor took about 1.7 years until we started Idea Studios.
Okay.
And I can honestly say that part of my life was pretty important for what we did afterwards, because I learned a lot about what do you do with the papers, how do you build a company legally, how do you I don't know,
all the
timings, taxes, exactly,
bureaucracy,
fun stuff.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I started doing web development, let's say, more professionally, until we decided to start our own company. The women at the finance place were looking at us, and they said, "Okay, you're just 21. Why? Why not?" We had no idea what we were doing. It was not a plan like you see in the movies. They had the product and they built it.
Forecasting.
No way.
Yeah.
They worked in their dad's basement or garage, and they made it. We had no idea. We just wanted to have to be professional, to have a way of invoicing clients, customers.
Yeah.
So we wanted to build our credibility.
So you had to build that legal framework, basically, so you can go wider.
Exactly.
From that perspective.
And
So you can tell us about Idea Studios, Transylgamia and Jellycs, taking it chronologically, and basically how it led from one to another, the entire evolution.
When we started in 2007, it was 27th of November, and that's when we got our certificate out, and we were very proud of it. And for the first 3-4 months, we had no idea what we were doing. We were sitting in the office playing, because we had some money we invested in the office. We rented it, paid it 1 year in advance, so we had no idea what that means in terms of cash flow and whatever. And in the spring of 2008, we got a anonymous tip about, "Hey guys, you should do games, online games," and so on.
So until now you were doing web development?
Exactly.
Okay.
I was doing web development. Tudor, my colleague, was doing SEO and helping clients build their businesses, and we got a tip: hey, do this. My programming skills were maybe 0.1% of what they're now, and now I'm not a good programmer. I like the subject very much. I'm not a talented one, but I like the puzzling. So back then I had no idea about programming, but I said, okay, it's a challenge, let's do it. Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And the first dress-up games, because that is the type of game we made at first, were coded by me for myself, and it was also challenging and fun because you had to make something new, a bit more complex than what you were used to doing so far.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting game. Back then, the trend of games was about customizing all sorts of elements and cars and whatever. And the first game was called Pimp My Pimp.
Okay.
It was not Pimp My Car, Pimp My whatever. You had a pimp and you had to put clothes on it.
Okay.
And I sent it out, and our current partners back then, they were the biggest in the market. They said, wow, this is crazy, we like it. I had no idea, I would just, that's how my mind works. And they published the game, and our servers went down, and we were faced with a very difficult choice, and that was, do we continue and invest more money in it, or we keep on doing it, doing what we are doing, and who knows. And we kind of mixed it because we didn't have that much money to go forward, so we took it a bit step by step. We said, okay, we don't want the servers to go down because it's enough the extra we were making. But we also started hiring because there was a surplus of money.
Yeah.
We had no idea what investment is, angels, all that.
Yeah.
I'm still
Too
trying to
early
figure
for
out.
that
Yeah, it was
around here.
extremely early. Even now, I'm learning, and we started hiring people to draw the games and make the games. And the guys from the Netherlands who we got in touch with said, okay, if you're making those games, would you care selling them to us as well when you're using them? And we said, yeah, why not? So our projects stalled a bit, and we started hiring more people to create more games that we could sell to these guys.
Yeah.
This went on about 2 years, from 2009 until 2011. We every year we grew the amount of games we were delivering to these guys, and at the beginning of 2011, actually at the end of 2010, we went to the Netherlands at their office. There were 2 kids with plum brandy. That's our signature item. And we got a new contract for 2011, all year, where we had some deliverables. We had also the amount and so on, and we were pretty happy about it. We said, okay, we have a foresight of 1 year.
Yeah.
And in August that year, the whole management team changed in that company, and we basically lost the contract because the new team that came in said, okay, you have too much. There's too much risk having
Everything.
you as the biggest pie in our developers, so no. And we were faced with a pretty interesting choice. One was how do you pay for the guys that work, and second, how do you pay yourself?
Exactly.
So we first of all, we lost about half of the company then. We were about 20 plus people, so half of it went. It was a pretty interesting mix of feelings because we hadn't gone through that before. It was just that we're just starting. We're actually we're still learning. We have so much to go. And back then we were like kids, and all of a sudden somebody took your toy and never said why and punched you in the face. And we said, okay, we still have our project because we didn't forget about it. It was one portal where we still published games, but at a very low rate. And we said, okay, this is what we have to do. We find a buyer for this website. It was big enough to worth something. And
so you didn't have only one buyer from
the guys in the Netherlands. The guy in the Netherlands were buying games, but we also had a portal where we published our own games.
Okay.
And we wanted a buyer for the whole portal, which was self-sustaining and producing some money. Because we both had, Tudor and I, the experience of running several portals. Some of them we sold, so we had some extra cash from that part, and we knew it could be done. And we decided, okay, let's sell it. We started looking for a buyer, and it came in November 2011. Some guys from the UK, very weird experience, said, we're interested, but we want to pay an upfront fee, and if we're still decided to buy what you have at the end of January, we will give you the rest of the amount we agreed upon. And we said, yeah, why not? But in the time we negotiated, that was November, the site had about 1 million visits a month. Until January, that grew 3 times. So when we gave it away, it was 3 million, and we were a bit, okay, we shook hands, but life's life, and we moved forward. So we went to London. We had some pretty interesting time there. It was an adventure. Because for instance, we thought that we will get the money right in, but international transfers take some days, and we had only £100 left. And we were, this is just as a side story, we were in London at 2 a.m. looking for the next connection to the metro station to get to the airport. But we lost it somewhere in between. Something happened, and there was some station was working, and we had to reroute. And at 2 a.m. it was cold as shit, and we had to wait. And we were looking for cabs and buses. Nothing came, and we got a warning when we left Romania: do not go with a black cab. It's like going with the devil. And we said, okay, we have £100. What shall we do? Nothing. Think of it like this: it was 2 a.m. It was so cold. You started turning blue, even with the clothes on. And 3 girls, by the way, they were drunk as hell, 50 feet away. And we started smelling the alcohol. That was funny. And we said, okay, let's go to the black cab, and what happens happens. Okay. And we told the guy, we want to go from this station to the other station. He looked at us. Why? We want to catch the connection. We said, okay, guys, even if the roads are clear, you're not going to make it. We started counting that £100 bill, and we asked the guy, can you please take us to the airport directly? How much is that? Well, it's about 150. 100 will do. Okay. So we got to the airport just to find out that our flight had a 3-hour delay, and we had no more money. So we just stayed there and watched, I don't know, the people buying expensive stuff like water. And when we got back home, it was funny to tell, that's why I'm telling it right now. And when we got back home, we already knew what we wanted to do. Our third partner today also had a company similar to ours, and he had his projects already going, similar in the sense that it was the same thing. And he said, okay guys, would you like to team up? And we sat down, thought of it, and said, okay, we have some money, we can invest. It was our first true investment, and it paid off really quickly. We did the math, and we should have gotten the money back in about a year, and we got it back in about 4 months.
Yeah, okay.
It was
quick, yeah.
Awesome. We didn't plan for it. And that's when, at the beginning of 2012, our companies merged. We were 3 business partners, equal shares, and we started doing stuff, and the projects kicked off.
Yeah.
And that's when we saw the value of creating your own products. Of course, we had the timing right. Creating the right product is almost nothing if the time is not right. So that was a very good timing.
Yeah.
And we started growing. Our user base started growing as well. We hired more people, and going forward to 2013, we said, okay, mobile is happening. We should do something, and we created a department in our company that was in charge of researching and doing mobile stuff. And after about half a year, we said, okay, we need to create something new in order for everyone that works on that project, including us, to have the right focus. And actually to have focus on it.
Yeah.
Because you cannot work if one guy is doing one thing and you think it's better and cooler than what you're doing.
Like the Romanian saying, sitting on 2 chairs.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
And that's how Transylgamia was born, and its purpose was to become a publisher. We're working on it, on that pretty hard. And given that we grew in numbers, we also had to provide the right support and in legal ways, HR and accounting and so on, and that's how Jellycs was born in terms of a new company, and its main task is to handle all the companies with all the operational side, and also to do the marketing and monetization
of the product itself. And
exactly. And when I say monetization, the right term is tweaking stuff to see if it works.
Yeah.
That's
basically that's maybe the entire concept and strategy of marketing and communications, advertising.
But nobody says that tweaking and seeing if
costs.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah, of course. So it's basically like a blindfolded investment into getting. But you have figures and analytics and so on, so you have certain guidance in terms of.
Yeah, but it's still, at the end of the day, when you see the graph going down, it's not funny. But it's a process, and we learned a lot from it. We got to meet a lot of people in the industry because we traveled quite a bit to conferences, gaming related and business related, and we got to know a lot of people that helped us along the way, even if not directly sometimes and most of the times, but with an advice or a tip or a connection. And
so doing the networking part and going to events and meeting new people did help in a certain amount.
In 2016, after 8 years of being part of a company that had the chance, luck, and good timing to grow, I can say that business development and the right connections can not only but they actually matter more than the product itself.
Okay.
Given that nobody has an original idea, wherever you are in the world, it matters how fast can you get it to your customers and how fast can you take a place in their preference. And if you do that, if you take that niche, you're set.
Okay. Looking now on the entire, like on maybe a macro level of all the things which you've done in the business venture until now, do you think that being a businessman, entrepreneur, do you have to have the jack of all trades skill in terms of being good at a palette of things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when starting a business, when running a business, when doing all sorts of things, it all comes down to how flexible you are. When I say flexible, I'm also referring to how flexible are you in learning new things, how flexible are you with meeting new people, and also negotiating anything.
Yeah.
And being a jack of all trades gives you the opportunity to experience any part of this. And experiencing this, you can also understand how the business works. And for instance, when you take new people on board and you want them to understand the stuff you're doing, it's pretty important you know it yourself.
Yeah.
Because there will be times when your teammates want to learn, and you are the only source they can learn it from. And being a jack of all trades at times gives you the extra edge in getting to know something quicker than some people.
Yeah. So my next question is somehow connected to this and being a jack of all trades. Do you think that the current millennials that will have to somehow adapt for the next 5, 10, 15 years, what would be the most significant skill that they would need to learn?
First,
and possess.
Let me ask you something. Am I a millennial? No, not quite.
No.
No. Okay. Well, it's pretty simple. I don't think they have to adapt. We have to adapt.
So all of us, basically.
Well, yeah. Times, at least until now, I've heard that next week somebody's going to make an astounding announcement regarding gravitational waves, and maybe time flows backwards. But at this moment, it flows just in one direction, and they're more tech savvy. They know how to use. They were born with screens.
Yeah.
From day one. They know how to use a lot of systems better than we can, and we work in this field. So basically, businesses will have to adapt to millennials, not the other way around.
Okay. In terms of maybe from the perspective of maybe selling to them, or in this perspective, but in terms of getting things done, like being employed at a certain company. I've read an article that, for example, the one skill that would be required is adaptability and how fast you can learn things. So I think this matches quite perfectly with your answer.
Well, one thing I learned about, I was at the DLD conference, lucky enough to go there last month.
Yeah.
And one of the talks was the future of work, the gig economy, where you do not have a centralized entity giving you stuff to do and paying you for it. It's more of an open space where you can do stuff in your underwear at home and get paid for it. Of course, there are pros and cons to this, and it also depends on your type of personality. If you need to mingle and you learn faster by getting together with people, that's the way to go for you.
Yeah.
If you can do it better alone at home, that's the way for you.
Yeah.
I do believe every person has a different way of doing things.
Yeah. Okay. Since you mentioned that doing things at home, do you think that nowadays, and I've seen this shift in reading different blog posts and so on, do you think that and somehow it's connected how you developed the companies which you developed, do you think that it's the workforce and the team inside the company is moving to a remote type of team and more nomadic? Because we can see this shift more and more that people like to work from certain type of places or traveling and working. Or did you do something like this? Or like, do you have a 80-20 split of teams? Do you have all the team here or?
Well, all our team is here, but we also work with a Chinese team and a Vietnamese team from time to time. I believe there are different stages when you need these approaches. I've seen the value and the power of getting together and doing something really, really fast. Something that cannot be outpaced by somebody doing outsourcing and answering 2 days later from beach.
Yeah.
However, once the product is out and you start to have a business around it, because not all ideas are businesses. Most of them are just ideas. But once you have a business and you need to grow and you need to scale, it really depends what type of product and what type of growth are you looking for, or you can use a pretty good team member that's on a beach in Jamaica, but if the guy is delivering on time and as promised, on cost and so on, you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
But that is the downside of working remotely with a big part of your team. I don't know, somebody gets eaten by a shark, a guy falls off a tree, somebody gives birth to, I don't know, leopards and so on. And these things you cannot foresee. These things affect your product. Okay. And if you have a deadline, product market, you're going to miss it. Missing that costs money.
Exactly. And
it could kill your project. And it's also frustrating if, for instance, I'm in fifth gear all the time.
Okay.
All the time. I usually take 2 espressos to chill down. I need to see things happening.
So you're
an action guy, yeah. It motivates me to see things are happening, and if they're moving faster than I can keep up, it motivates me to keep up.
Yeah.
But if things are just sitting and waiting for some guy to answer your email, I'm burning brain cells.
Yeah. So it's a chain reaction which you have there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're in the local ecosystem. You've been a couple of years already in the business, and quite successful. How would you evolve in the ecosystem, and how do you think you could make it better by your involvement in it? Or maybe, what would you do to make it better? Or do you think it doesn't need time by itself and to evolve naturally?
First of all, the concept of success is pretty overrated. Success lasts only 2 weeks, or it's smart to think it lasts only 2 weeks, because then you're back on the horse. And if you do not believe in this, you will have a problem pretty soon. And if I were to contribute, I would contribute with all the mistakes I've made. And trust me, I've done quite a few mistakes. I've made quite a few mistakes. And just sharing, this is what we went through. It's not necessary for you as a business or you as a young person to go through the same stuff all over again just to get to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Of course, there are some advice I will never be able to give that is business specific. If you sell hats.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. But there are things, there are business related and product related, and it's a mix. I do not believe in slow pace. Why?
Do you think it can kill a business?
Slow pace?
Yeah.
Well, you're not alone.
Or, no, maybe that this is a very vague question. Maybe in what amount of, percentage it could kill a business?
100%.
Let's say, how many times from 5 times?
5 times.
5 times?
Well, it's simple. You are not alone in the market.
True.
And if somebody moves in 2016 faster than you with 5 minutes, and they get to money faster than you, and they get the product out there faster than you, we've been there. This is also an experience we've learned along the way.
Okay.
Not funny, but we learned it. So you have to be fast. As a business owner, I'm the OCD type and the perfectionist type. It's all related to Balkan mothers. It's not something of a trait I have. But I do have it, and I've seen it doing damage. Because I just need to straighten this and the colors a bit, and you lose a lot of time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the user has to validate your idea.
Exactly.
Before you do stuff.
Exactly.
And of course, again, this is a type of advice from our area of expertise and a bit something connected. If, for instance, you want to do a different product that requires exceptional execution and an exceptional detail, then you stay low and do your stuff and do get the feedback while having a low profile. But even then, once your product is good, you have to be fast in getting as big as possible.
Yeah.
Because once you get a strong competition, they will first learn from you, and they know stuff you do not know.
Yeah.
It's always like that. I'm in a room with people that know a lot more things than I do in a ton of fields. So I think of it like this in a business. Okay, they might be some. We started out like this. We had think of it like this. When we started the websites, we had nothing. We created some games and we started knocking on doors, which was sending spam email to people.
Cold email.
Well, so cold you could compare it with an ice cream. And we started doing the PR and the communications and negotiating, and that's how we started to grow until we were bigger than most of our peers. Not the biggest, but bigger. And then we started playing a role in this market.
Yeah.
But the advantage of that time was that we had no idea what we were doing. We just wanted to get the money. And it's an important
motivation factor.
Not necessarily motivation, but it's your only KPI.
Okay.
You look at that, and when you see the money coming in, and you think of profits and so on, it's good. And then the devil comes in and says, no, more is good. No, it says, but are you completely aware of how your business is doing? You know the guy standing next to you knows more about his business than you do, right? Then you start to get into analytics and tools and A/B testing. And then you start losing money.
With the fact which we mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And one of the reasons for this is, and I'm the main responsible guy for that when doing all that, is you lose track of what's important. You think it's important
when you start analyzing.
No, not when you start analyzing. When you start analyzing poorly, because we also learned that by doing. We did not go to the analysts' university or something.
Yeah.
And most of the times, the data you see and interpret is wrong. But you still act on it as a good decision.
Yeah.
And then you cry. That's the effect of doing bad or slow analysis. Again, we go about the speed of how do you interpret data. 3 months ago does not equal today in terms of data validity. And if you do not analyze it today and act tomorrow, it's useless.
I mean, yeah, it depends also on what's the scope
exactly. In our area of expertise, you have, for instance, on mobile games, you have tons of options as a user. You have no reason to be patient. You have no reason to click on an ad and install a game or an app, except if you really, really wanted to. And you may throw your phone away 3 months from now.
Yeah.
But we got you in our remarketing list or whatever.
Exactly.
And that does not count. Of course, there are companies that make a lot of money out of this business analysis and marketing and getting insight.
Yeah.
But for that, you need really, really big pockets.
Yeah. You said that in this context and on this subject, in terms of marketing and communicating the games and the apps itself, what do you think that it's the most important KPI for let's say proven growth?
I have no idea.
I mean, because I've listened to Brian, if from HubSpot or something like that,
okay.
And he said that traction is the most important. So I'm just asking you from your perspective, if you're
it depends what type of business you are and how much money you have to spare.
On your expertise, I mean, in your.
For us, well, we have to look at the money, and you have to go. And you have to grow, and you have to get the right traction, but in order to, you know what traction is, spending a lot of money until some people think your product is cool enough. It's a very short definition of it, and most of the times you don't get to that traction point.
Okay.
So in order to keep the business flowing and be alive next month, you need to look at every dollar spent with every dollar made, and you need to get to that, at least the break-even point.
Yeah.
So okay, traction is a word that applies mostly to companies that are funded in the US and have a lot of cash at their disposal. From what I've heard, the stocks are not doing that well. Yeah, but traction. Facebook had that amazing virality factor and traction, but they went, they were losing money 7 years in a row because they had some really, really deep pockets helping them.
Yeah.
So it's all about how much money you got at your disposal to make things happen.
Okay.
Money helps you learn. When you buy users, when you do the marketing, it helps you learn. Depending on the amount of money you have to spend, you learn more or less.
So this would be a really good quote for
yeah.
With regards to what you said earlier, by doing mistakes here and there, what was maybe top three?
Okay, top three.
Top three mistakes and bad decisions, maybe.
Well, given I had the disclaimer when we started that I'm not a very good developer. I'm a passionate developer. I'm not a good developer. I like to tweak things and break it and then try and fix it. Usually bad things happen at about 2 a.m. in the morning when you're completely exhausted of doing some stuff and you say, okay, this is just one more line of code and hit enter and then you go to sleep and then your database is gone. And then you lost 2 pounds instantly and then you figure it out. So at one point we started having a lot of traffic and I was working on something. And I was working directly on the server. As I said, I'm not a good developer. The developers in the house don't throw stones. I was not using Git and SVN and so on. And I was logged in on the server and I hit a command and all the database was gone. So now the new challenge was how to get that back. So the lucky part was that the way we built our websites was to have static files which contained all the information we needed. So I just had to create a small crawler that got all the information back and dumped it in a new database. And I did not go to sleep at 2 a.m. The second one was, and this is not something specific, but I've learned it along the way, not having the right attitude, the business attitude. There are times when people do not agree with you for good reason. There are times when people do not have to agree with you. There are times when you think your idea is the best and it literally sucks. And the mistake is to keep on going
with your decision or with your gut feeling.
With ego.
Okay.
Because somehow you feel your ego bruised, and we in our culture we learn that without having the right pair of apples, you're nothing. So basically, that's one mistake I've made quite a lot.
Okay.
And the third would be business-wise, forgetting where we are physically.
You mean
Romania.
Romania.
When we started going out to conferences and learning about financing and funds and VCs and angels and businesses getting money for some reason we had no idea why, I also started reading entrepreneur.com, inc.com, and so on. And there were guys evangelizing on how businesses should be done and KPIs and funding and all sorts of fancy words.
Yeah.
And the projection of greatness in the future without specifying if you're in San Francisco. And not paying attention to that detail costs a lot of money. When you have a lot of money laying around and waiting for you to
handpick
and show a little bit of interest and a bit of spark, yeah, that's one thing. But when you have to think of, can I afford that pair of pants or not? And if I'm going to college, am I paying it for myself or not? In Romania, that's a different situation. And I've recently heard about the term entrepreneur porn. When you read a lot about successful stories in the US especially, and you feel so good about that person, and then you just procrastinate for 2 weeks. And it gets you nowhere. And it happens. I think it's a trick. The
media trick,
the US people feel us breathing on their necks, and they throw us, they will read this, and 2 weeks later they will still be reading it, and we will be forward. I'm joking, obviously. But that was one of the mistakes I personally made. Forgetting where we are. And forgetting that in order to follow your passion, and if you're a friend of mine, you know I have this speech laid out. If you follow your passion, money will come. But at a point, your passion may not be generating enough money for you to sustain your passion.
Yeah.
Then you have to be flexible. This is what I was talking about earlier. The passion does not go away.
Exactly.
But you need to change it with, you need to adapt. I could go on with mistakes.
Okay. What do you think is going to be the next thing in gaming? I mean, in 5 years, 10 years. I'm not going to say more.
Well, if you said 2 weeks from now, I might have had a chance, but no way.
Why? Tell me your answer 2 years back, 2 weeks back. Or explaining why, maybe.
Why, yeah. It's moving at a pace that it's pretty difficult to keep up with predictions. The best analysts in the world. There was a guy at DLD, very funny guy, professor at some very fancy university, I forgot its name.
Yeah.
Predicted last year at DLD, at his speech with a graph and arguments and so on, that Amazon's stocks in 2015 will go down. This year at DLD, the guy came on stage and remembered that point, that prediction, and he said, okay, remember when I said that? It's like 1 million people looked at me and said, that guy's nuts, and went and bought stock, and the stock price went up. And this guy knows his stuff. He's an analyst, he's a professor, he's finished his university studies in less than 7 years than I did. So I have no idea how it's going to be. Two things are hot right now in terms of technology, but not necessarily for gaming, but including gaming. VR and augmented reality. Yeah. But still, that's about it. I have no idea. There are a lot of emerging markets, emerging countries where you can have access to smartphones and internet connections cheaper and better than you could 5 years ago, 3 years ago. At Davos this year, a lot of countries agreed upon let's say electrifying Africa, bringing electricity to all of Africa by 2025, something like that. Okay. So in this time, it's a 10-year mark.
So maybe new markets, rather than maybe in the same time, new markets and technologies.
New markets and technologies, new ways of playing, consoles, VR. It's tougher and tougher for mobile games because most of the business is marketing.
Okay.
Marketing plus a good product, because now the user is pretty smart and picky.
Yeah.
I don't know how it got there, because 2 years ago they were playing Flappy Bird, or 1 year ago, and that's not the.
Here comes my next question. Since we said that it's smart and picky, since you're doing marketing and all the analytics behind with regards to the products which you have, tell us maybe some differences between the different type of countries and types of cultures which you target, and maybe the economics of behaviors which you have to maybe tweak here and there. What is specific maybe between, maybe give us 2 examples, maybe 2 countries or something.
Most of my experience is on web products, and on web we monetize via advertising, and with that I pretty much said everything, because we do not control the user behavior after the ad.
Yeah.
So what can I say?
Maybe in product building, or if it has such an effect.
We've noticed, for instance, in terms of games, web games for kids. And I think my dog just had some fun right there. Sorry, guys. They will. US kids had more access to a lot of media and games and so on. So when you see a game performing, it's not gonna. If it's not a really good game, it's not the US. Users will not react to it that good compared to, for instance, Indian users, or Egyptian users, or emerging market users, because they had less access to this type of content, and they're experiencing it, let's say, more.
Yeah.
So that's one of the differences we could notice. But there's also a difference in internet connection. And this affects the overall experience. If the pages load fast enough, if the ads load fast enough, and it behaves in a way, and that user in another way.
Okay. I'm gonna shoot 12 questions to you. and please answer me with yes or no.
Okay.
So, team or single entrepreneur?
Team.
Business plan, yes or no?
No.
Crowdfunding, yes or no?
Not available.
Yes or no? Maybe you can specify why or not.
Well, given that I have no experience in crowdfunding, I have no idea if yes or no.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Co-working space.
Again, don't have this experience, but given that I said team at the first question, co-working space.
Okay. Exit fast or grow?
Depends on the product and your wish.
Okay. User validation.
Yes.
China or US?
I've seen the Chinese.
It shouldn't influence you.
No. I've always been a fan of Asian culture, whatever that is, and Japan, China, all that part. But the US is the motherland for all tech and internet, and it's a pretty easy decision right now in terms of we can relate to US customers and US folks because we grew up with their movies with
Beverly Hills,
Cartoon Network, and that's where I got the accent from. And Chinese people and their culture have tremendous potential. Their numbers are huge, but culturally we're so different. We have no idea what they need unless you literally go there and
live. Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
US.
Go to market globally or locally?
Globally, depending on what locally means. If you live in Bucharest or live in Berlin or Munich or whatever, locally is good.
Yeah.
But in Cluj, locally is not good.
Okay.
It depends on
size.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spending potential.
Okay.
For us, going globally was not a choice. It happened. But now, given we have this experience, I would not go locally.
Okay. iOS or Android?
Spending wise, iOS.
Okay.
Market size, Android.
Museum or rock concert?
Rock concerts.
Favorite book or book which you could recommend?
Actually, I'm not an avid reader, but there's one I'm almost finished, and it's this year's gift from a new business partner. It's called The Team of Teams by General McChrystal. It was a general who fought in the Iraq wars.
Okay.
And it's pretty team of teams. It's self-explanatory, and how they went with a mindset and a strategy, thinking that it will work. And the first part of the war, or the 10-year war, they were completely blown away of the flexibility and the speed of which the Taliban were doing stuff.
Okay, interesting. Silicon Valley or Cluj?
Silicon Valley. By the way, I don't like the branding. Most people do. No, we're not the Silicon Valley of Transylvania.
Yeah. Okay.
We shouldn't be. We have to create our own path. We have to create our own future, and for that to happen, we need to learn from the best, but do it our own.
Adapt to.
And that's not
local
outsourcing.
flavors, yeah.
Let me say it on camera. That's not outsourcing.
Yeah. Final question. Maybe you've heard that Fresh Home from Timișoara made an exit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're friends actually.
Have you ever thought about an exit yourself?
All the time. It's in my DNA. No. Usually when I'm visiting my mother, but every business has two options. You either grow very fast. In Romania, it's pretty hard to go that route.
Okay.
Again, we get to the money part. Or do a very profitable exit and take the next thing. As an entrepreneur, most people find themselves in another situation. Okay, you build your product, you have the success you want, You see people appreciating your work, which is cool. But then you start to get bored. Because the level of innovation and the speed you're doing things slows down. And as an entrepreneur, you literally get bored of what you did.
Yeah.
And it's a good time to sell before you get bored. Because when you get bored, it starts showing up in your business.
Exactly. Yeah. Logic.
And it's not a bad thing to sell your business. It's not a bad thing to think about, hey, who could take my product higher?
Next level, yeah.
And I could rest 6 months on the beach, recharge the batteries. As I said, I'm in 5th gear all the time, but that takes its toll. And it at first I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
I was 21, then 25, then I'm 30, and I'm starting to feel that.
Certain.
Analytics. Yeah.
So, Daniel, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much for having me
nice
and
talk.
having patience with me, and great event.
Thank you. Guys, thank you very much for being here with us. I hope the content served you well and will serve you well. Feel free to network and have a snack and some juice. And see you at the next event. Thank you very much.